So I am joined today. I'm super excited for this interview, podcast, whatever we want to call it. I'm joined by my good friend Julianne DeVincenzo, whose official title is Product Marketing Manager for the Analytics Business Unit at Qlik. But there's so many more titles that we could put around that. Creative extraordinaire, person who films fun videos with me, partner in crime. There's a lot that we've done together, but I am so excited that you are here today.
Thanks for having me. I've been
Yeah,
wanting to be a guest on this show since it started.
there you go. There you go. So we met at our sales kickoff in 2023, so over a year ago, when you kind of begged me to be a part of this presentation that you were doing around social. And for those that don't know, I think I've said it before, like this was actually a key piece of me actually starting to do more social stuff was her kicking my butt and making me get on stage, but we didn't really know her there. What were your original career aspirations when you were younger? What kind of career did you see yourself moving into?
Oh man, so this one's kind of funny because I have had so many different areas of work. If you go back to when I was really younger, I wanted to be a cash register girl. And then it probably pivoted to being a stay-at-home mom like my mom or a Marine like my father. I actually went through like a whole thing to get into the officer candidate school. And then I think junior year of high school, I think it was 2007, Mad Men came out. And if you haven't seen it, watch it. But I wanted to be the girl version of Donald Draper for many reasons. Like besides his sunken living room and his corner office, I loved that when he walked into a room, people respected him. They wanted to hear from him. And he created like empathy and he created a story and like made someone feel something from just a brand or an advertisement. And yeah, he was like a boss on Madison Avenue. I think what I really liked about him is he didn't care what people thought about him or if they liked him or not. And that was something I didn't have at that time. I was always trying to impress somebody or, not disappoint my family. And I just love that he's like, I know my worth, I know what I'm doing, and like I'm good at it.
So as you pursued that, and that thought, like what was your idea of like, well, I want to be a person who walks into a room, is respected and all that, but like what were things that you were like, what is a career path or what is a job that I think would help me achieve that?
I don't know if I thought about it that way
Okay.
in particular. So I originally went to school, well, maybe a little bit. So I originally went to Lock Haven. I played lacrosse and, I didn't have the best grades in high school. So I was like, banking on lacrosse getting me in. And I was a public relations communications major. And I did that for about 2 years. It was fine and played lacrosse. But then I was like, oh man, I can either do or do well at lacrosse. So I transferred to Westchester and I became a German major. And the only reason I took German as my major and did an international business minor was because it was something I was passionate about. So I knew if I could pursue a passionate major that I would do well at it. And then international business because I knew I would do well at business. I did not want to be a teacher. I was like, oh, well, those things go hand in hand, something's going to come out of it. So I think like starting school with like kind of that encouragement from the Donald Draper stuff and just where I thought I would be good at led me to a different place. But I feel like each step that I've taken has helped me land where I am today.
Yeah,
That makes
yeah. And that's so I know kind of how you got to Qlik, but why don't you share a little bit about what you were doing right before Qlik and kind of how you landed at it?
So I spent 12 years the day I graduated school until July 2019 in sales. I was account managers for many different, like pretty well-known sales companies. And then July 2019, I quit my job and I was like, I have nothing that's tying me right now to America. I'm going to go to Bali and pursue another passion, which was yoga. So I spent like about like 5 months in yoga in Bali. I learned how to be a yoga instructor. I would do 12 hours a day of yoga and meditation. And then COVID happened. So I had to come home. And, wasn't planning on that. I was going to be there for a whole year. And I was out at a like little music festival and met a girl in the bathroom. She liked my outfit and we became friends.
You started our demand gen program, or what people call either a sales development rep or a business development rep, doing a lot of cold calling, emailing. But then that changed to you were doing script writing for them and trying to figure out this, which moved to kind of some programs and then to some enablement and now product marketing for a specific business unit. Like to people who are looking to change careers, because it was, say, I would say what you did when you came here was sales adjacent, right? But you
Yeah.
knew you wanted something different. What kind of advice would you give to people who are in one thing but want to pivot into a different place?
So I have a few things. I knew that when I got into Qlik, and that was the only way to get in. And about like 5.5 months in, I met with a guy in sales enablement because I'm like, oh wow, like I like what he's doing. Like, let me talk to him about see how I can grow into that role. And kind of was told like, it's going to take me 7 years. So then I just started like meeting other people and just having like 30-minute conversations with them to understand how the business worked. Because you are in a sales role, most of them, or because I was, or you are, you don't always know the other side of the business and like what they're responsible for and what they do on the daily basis. So I think learning and growing your network that way. And I think one piece of advice is you never ever know who's like looking at you or paying attention to what you have to offer. So like I'm not saying go be crazy, but it's like the connections that you make, or maybe a demonstration that you did, or you talked about something in a passionate way where you were just yourself, like people are paying attention. And I actually was about to leave Qlik. I had interviewed for a marketing role and I didn't have the right experience. And then I'd been BDR for a year and I was like, darn, like, I really want to stay here, but I need to grow, and put my 2 weeks in. And then I got a calendar invite. I was like, this person doesn't like know I'm leaving, I guess. I guess I'll take the call. And it was Greg Hines. And he said, oh, I have a role that's opening and I want you to do it. You impressed me with, a presentation you gave the other day and a walkthrough of an app. And I think you'd be great. So like he took a chance on me. But that goes back to like when I did that presentation for him and I had no idea. He was new. I didn't really know him. I was like, okay. And I guess it made an impression. And I think the third part is like just be yourself. I spent so many years in sales, outside sales, where like my hair had to be a certain way, or I couldn't have tattoos or like a nose piercing. And I was always worried about what people would think of me if I just could be myself. And this is the first company that I've felt I can be that way. I can, I'm a little silly. I'm a little crazy. I say what I mean. And I'm not afraid to like challenge people. So I think that those three aspects are what helped me grow and move around.
I want to focus on one of the things that you said there because I know how, as long as I've really known you, you have been a person who is in the office at least once or twice a week. And
Mhm.
I think post COVID, we've lost that. And even, both of us sometimes it's really nice to like on a Friday be at home. But
Yeah.
there is something about being in the office when we get to see each other, when you get to meet other people in other departments, and there's only, 50, 80, 100 of you versus the full office, that you get to learn what other people do. Why do
Mhm.
you think that's so important on kind of going into the office and having that as like a grounded spot once or twice a week?
We are human beings. Like we crave that like personal interaction, and talking to a computer all day, like it's just not the same. You don't read the body language, and you're not walking past my desk like, oh, I have this idea. Can we chat about it real quick? Um, and like it's not just like the colleague stuff, it's like the camaraderie, like the playing of the ping pong, and the CMO walks past your desk and it's like, oh, like, do you want to just do some whiteboarding? Or I think we do work in a big company, but sometimes it feels smaller when you're able to see those people and have those interactions. And then people get to know who you are. And I
So
think too, with that real quick is like because we got to know each other in an office capacity, like I feel good or okay pinging you real quick or like, hey, do you have five? It's not like this formal conversation with an agenda. It's just like I want to bounce an idea off of you. So it just like really expands like the entire relationship.
So you used a word that I like. You said I'm a challenger. And the way you can define that if you want, but the way I would think about that when I think about you is that you fight hard to challenge both yourself to become a better version of you, but as a as a challenger myself, you do this with everything that you kind of touch at work, like seeing and wanting better for your department, for the larger company, for those around you. Where do you think that fight came from?
Hmm. It's a good question. Because I also think it's like why we have become like so close. I think so I'm the oldest of three girls. I've always been the bossy one, yeah, I could say, but I think there's like many layers to this answer. I've always wanted to be a self-reliant person. I grew up, learning that independence and wanting to kind of leave my mark on the world, whether it's with like a yoga practice or with, my work. I have a lot of empathy and like understanding, and I always try to put myself in somebody else's, feet, butt, socks, whatever. But I think really my like tenacity and toughness on myself and others came from my father, who's a Marine. He always said like pain's weakness leaving the body.
Yeah.
And he also taught me like the golden rule, right? Like treat others how you want to be treated. And I think that that's where a lot of like my challenge comes from. Like challenging excites me. If someone's like, no, I'm like, okay, that's fine. I have 10 other ideas. Like, let's go through them. But I also like, as much as I am tough on the outside, like I'm a little delicate flower on the inside too, like sometimes pushing and challenging people like does get a little tiring. But I think just like being persistent and like enduring it sometimes is worth it. One time when I was a kid, my dad said, "You're always going to be either a salesperson or in a lawyer." And I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Because when you're a kid, it wasn't, can we go get ice cream? It was like, Betty, can we get penguin ice cream or Dairy Queen? It was never a choice, right?" So
One or the other, there's no option for
no,
no,
there's no
right?
option for no. Okay, you don't want those two. What about this one?
Right.
But yeah, I think like I just always want the best for myself. And I don't know if I'm always going to be like, I'm trying to learn, like, okay, Julianne, like, be proud for a second. But I demand greatness from others as well. Like, I'm just as hard on myself as I am on other people.
So being a challenger and wanting better for people and the things around you, it's great. You end up in a lot of mentor type things, coaching opportunities, but it can also be very exhausting and hard to understand why others don't think like you.
Yeah.
What have you learned on kind of how to share your ideas and dreams for betterment without turning people off and frustrating them?
Oh man, well, I've definitely turned people off and frustrated them.
So have I. Yes. And
Um,
we've made some career moves probably because of those things. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is hard, but I think I'm learning more every day. And I have to say, both myself and my family recognized a huge change when I went to go to Bali. Before then, I wasn't maybe as like a go-getter, or I wasn't as patient with people. And I think it goes back to the Donald Draper thing where I'm like, hey, like I like that he didn't care what people thought about him. Like I had developed this sense of self where I was like, you know what, I'm not for everybody. Either you like me or you don't. And maybe you're lost, I don't know. But like understanding that when you're children, right? Like you go and try everything. You don't care if you're going to be bad at it. And then as we get older, we're always like, I have a fear of being bad at something or trying something new
Mhm.
because we could be bad at it, or telling an idea because somebody might think it's a bad idea. Like I have developed that sense of like, I'm just going to share ideas. If it's bad, like I said before, I have so many more. And I want to find like-minded people around me that also feel that way. Because when you have your little tribe, like you, Greg, Kyle, like I could name a ton of different people that want to be creative, then it's like, okay, like, I still am thinking about that one idea you came up with. And I'm like, no. But it's like, that's not going to stop either one of us.
Right.
And I think like with the turning people off, I'm still learning because I have that, okay, like, fine, don't like me. But I've learned actually a lot from Kyle Robbins and you about how to approach situations a little differently. That might be maybe I'm turning somebody off, or how to talk to somebody. And then especially like asking that why. Keep asking like questions, having a different approach, maybe a little softer. And Yeah, just you both are more eloquent in your approach, so I'm learning.
I feel
And
like
getting
I've
to
rarely been called eloquent.
oh well, there you go. But more so like really realizing the root. Like, okay, you don't like me. Maybe it's my approach, or maybe it's my clothes. I don't know. Or like the way I talk. It doesn't matter. But like if I can find something that we are both
Yeah.
like, we were gonna like together, then like there's hope. But yeah, sometimes it hurts. Like, I'm human. We're all human, but I'm not gonna let it stop me.
No, and I like that idea to other creative people that could be listening is like you can't turn it off. There's always a bunch of different ideas. And it's like, cool, there's one. You didn't like that one? Cool. And they're like, okay, well, so we got to move on. You're like, no, 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 I have nine more.
Yeah.
Like, and then maybe it's the eighth one that they're like, actually, that I could see how we could connect that. And it's like, right, that's the thing of just being able to be a dreamer around what could we do to make this better. Maybe this one is a bad idea.
Mhm.
Maybe the idea that I had that you said, no, you got to stop. Maybe it's a bad idea, right? But then it's okay. So now let's pivot to a couple different ideas around that to see if we can tweak it and get it better. That's the benefit of that, and being a
Yeah.
person with ideas is just keep
That's
trying something to kind of break through, see if it makes a difference.
And I think like when you just pivot it back to that, like that's that like zhuzh. Like remember you were like, you said the idea and I'm like, no. And then we came back to it like a couple weeks later with a bunch of people and we're like, oh wait, maybe this could work. Like let's and it was so fun to like see that come back and I think it's like, don't get your feelings hurt. It's an idea, you shared it. Like that's the only way ideas can grow.
But it was worth you saying, "Are you drinking?" when I had that idea. And I was like, "No, I'm of my right mind." And you were like, "I don't know that you are," but that's what you do, and that's why you have that trusted group when you find people like you. Why it's so important in life or in a corporate setting that like, "Hey, I have this crazy idea. Can I bounce it off you? Is it really, really crazy, or is it
Mhm.
pseudo crazy?" And then we'll figure it out together. So it's good.
Yeah.
So in that creative thing, we have been working on some various creative things together for most of this year, and part of me, it's shocking that we got asked to do a very simple video that has turned into this gamut of things that we've done.
Today, you will learn your sales territories. Alex, get the sorting hat.
Sorting hat, sorting hat, sorting hat.
Now, Julianne, are you a laptop, iPad, or notebook person?
I love a leather-bound notebook that smells like rich mahogany.
Yes. Okay. So,
Yeah, he thinks it's like reverse psychology or something.
Subliminal messaging. They'll have to send me to Qlik Connect now.
and frankly, when we put our minds together, it can lead to something awesome or a bit terrifying. And
Yeah.
the terrifying stuff hasn't made it to the public yet. So that's
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah.
But like, why do you think creativity is so needed in the corporate world?
So I think that it's needed in every aspect of every job, right? Like you could have, what is it? Like the Nike logo is the check. Like that's not their brand, right? Their brand is how they make people feel and how like there's an emotional connection, and that's needed everywhere. I grew up people telling me I'm moody and emotional. I mean, I'm Cancer, so maybe sometimes it's true, but like being able to tap into that. At the end of the day, we're humans, marketing, selling, prospecting, whatever, to other humans. Like they're not robots. They don't want to hear technical jargon all the time. Like they want to feel something that's going to help them solve a pain or a problem. Like, and I think like it goes to this yoga phrase that I love, and I say in class, it's like check your ego at the door, meaning like, you know, like you have to let some of that go and maybe something you've always done the same way and be a little open-minded to like the ability to like tap into different people's thoughts and ideas, like imaginative ideas.
For creative people that might be listening, like that creativity, and we were talking with somebody a few weeks ago that said like creativity can really be turned off. This specific person was like, I sat down to work on a specific thing, and 6 hours later I realized it was 6 hours later. So it's hard to turn it off. How do you find creative outlets within your role to keep you energized? Because if you are a creative person and you are in drudgery of like clicking and dragging or just moving, or I was in procurement at one time and that was just not what was for me. Like it was like, oh, this is mind numbing. What are creative outlets you found to kind of keep yourself energized within that role? And how did you find them?
So I think creativity comes to me in like waves of excitement. And when I have it, I'm just like all in. You got all my brainstorming. I'm like creating a weird PowerPoint, like with has nothing to do with what I'm doing. I think it goes back to what I said before, like finding your like-minded lunatics, a nice term somebody had given to me recently, and just like bouncing like the ideas off of them. And I think when you like put that out into the world, they're going to come to you with ideas as well. And then you get like with that energy and it's like, oh, like, wow, we can conquer anything right now. Or like, let's try this. It might be the most ridiculous thing, but most of the time it ends up with a start to something. Like I just started talking to this like one guy, he's on the creative team because I wanted my pretty clouds in one of my PowerPoints, and I've never even met him, but like he's like sending me like creative stuff he used to do at his old company, and like I'm sending him like what my idea is, and he's like, we should do this. 3 years ago, I was told that we're serious here, and I'm trying to like push that. Obviously, it's been a mission of mine, like that we can be fun, but also we can have, we can be a serious company, we're taken seriously, but we can still have fun. And I think just being able to like zoom out a little bit and push yourself into oh, I'm going to write this, I'm going to be really creative, and I'm going to pass it around to a few people and tell me if it's going to fly or not.
Yeah, my encouragement is that too, is you don't know until you try. You put an idea together, think through, like one of the things I've learned in life is think through that idea a little bit more. Like early on, I was very like blah to the idea, and it was a half-baked, half-cocked, terrible idea. It was like, but think through it, think through the holes that might get poked in it, and then go present it. They can say no, then you'll come up with another one, but they might be like, this is interesting. Can we tweak it a little bit there? And that's how people start to trust you with things. And for me, when my role here, it was my old manager, before she was even my manager, was like, hey, I think you'd be good at doing this for this. And it was kind of like, oh, it was a stepping stone to see how well I did with it, if they could trust me with the next thing. So like sometimes you get piled on and it's too much, but sometimes there's a piling on of things or an ask to do something because there's a test. It's like, can they handle this? Could they move into this next role to do that? That's kind of what happened, going back to the earlier story with you and Greg, and like trust you to do this, and it opened up a door. So don't view everything handed to you as drudgery. Like sometimes it could be something, and add your flair to it too, right? Add your flair to it because it's important.
I want someone to poke holes. Poke holes all you want, because guess what? We're gonna all sit together and we're gonna fill up those holes with all different new ideas. But like if you don't have somebody that's also gonna challenge you back, then I'm bored.
Yeah, that's true. Anything else you would like to share? Encouragement to people pivoting careers, encouragement to creative people?
I guess going just back to what I said before, like they tap into your inner child a little bit, Julianne the yogi, but like really like what's the worst that can happen if you share an idea or a thought, or you try something new or try a different approach, or even spend like an hour or two at the office with somebody that you've seen maybe something that they posted or something that they wrote. And it's like, let's talk. Because like, that's how the best things get formed, and relationships and ideas. And then you get videos and get dinosaurs. And I think, and just don't keep everything inside your head, because that it just ruminates, right? Like get it out. And if they don't like it, that's fine.
So I know I've been asked by a few people lately, we got more interesting video ideas in the can that we're working on. Is there some stuff happening? Yeah.
We have some like, half baked, partially baked, and then we have some that are still like in the pantry, but like we have some ones up our sleeves that we're hoping to get out soon. So stay tuned.
Should be good. It should be good. Well, Julianne, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it. And guys, if you're not following Julianne on LinkedIn, please do so. That's where we're posting a bunch of different stuff. She's writing blogs. She's doing all sorts of stuff, and it's a great follow, and you will be encouraged by what she posts.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you so much. And just stay tuned. There's going to be more good stuff coming from us both.
Thanks for having me.